I've got the lovely challenge of being between me and a beer, but it's okay, I'm on your team. It'll be all right. I'm a 1998 scholar. I just Gore's fantastic presentation. A couple of things I did actually notice through his presentation. If you had dug another 40 centimetres deeper at Bob Nixon's farm, you would have found a bucket load of cash. And the other thing that happened is I saw Johnny Foss run out and buy about 45 excavators, and he's going to rebuild all those lovely purple colours and red colours to make it all very uniform. It's great to be back in Western Australia for a fair while there. In New South Wales, we were calling this East Madagascar because we weren't allowed to come here. But I would just like to touch really quickly, and I'm going to talk about Nuffield International, but Harry Perkins was the chairman of Nuffield Australia when I got my scholarship. I was scholar number 111. There was about 70 alive scholars. This will be relevant to the whole Nuffield International discussion when I got my scholarship. But we really didn't really have a big enough footprint. And at one point there, we'd get 2 new scholars and we'd lose 2 scholars. So the expression was, and Harry said this, we're not even a self-replacing herd. But that has significance with Nuffield International because we've grown. He would be so proud of this room now because there was nothing like this at the first Nuffield things. So and I think this is where Nuffield International is now in new countries trying to build this. So that's really what this is about. So Harry would be incredibly proud of what's happening here now. Last night, though, he wouldn't have been proud. So we got kicked out of that brand new football stadium where they were using lights to grow the grass and there was no football teams left in Western Australia to play there. When the cricket tests are on, no one goes and watches the cricket there, but it's a good investment, Western Australia, next year. But we got kicked out of there, we've come back here, and as Harry always said, you just got to have a good nightcap, Dave. Well, what did happen? Here we are, we've got all these brilliant Western Australians, we've had 5 of the best years ever, and there wasn't a beer to be seen. He wouldn't have been proud of that. Nuffield International, I'd just like to acknowledge the sponsors, the main sponsors for Nuffield International, Bayer, Westchester and PSP, and we heard from the speaker this morning from Westchester. It really is, it's in its infancy, Nuffield International, but without their support, it wouldn't actually be anybody. The way Nuffield International works, we have all, on the left-hand side, we have the full member countries. You can read all those. On the right-hand side is probably the more exciting part. Probably back to the left, though, Zimbabwe's back on, and Brazil has been added there, and we're quite proud that that's actually happened. And obviously then we've got the new and emerging Japan, USA, Chile, Germany, and now Poland. The USA, at some point in the near future, will also become a full member country. Nuffield International has 3 key roles. It's to facilitate the key programs of Nuffield, which is the CSC and the triennial conferences, which are held every 3 years, and ensure that rotation is managed well and our expectations are reached. We also want to help and support the existing Nuffield countries and also the smaller and new countries by sharing ideas, and where we can, we want to share the resources. And realistically, we want to grow Nuffield's reach in the new countries and emulate what's now happening here and in also the other key countries of Nuffield. In regards to the CSC, the 2024 guys, you're going to a CSC next year in Brazil. That's where all the CSCs have been over time. I was intrigued by 2008 we got Australia and we got Victoria in brackets, but anyway, they are part of Australia. And 2020 is in italics because, as been discussed before, I think that was a 3-day. That was sort of like the 2020 version of a cricket test for the CSC. But you did get to do your scholarship for, I think, 1,054 days. That's a pretty impressive thing. But realistically, the scholarship, as we all know, lasts a lot longer than that. The future CSCs coming up in Brazil, 9th of March 2024, then New Zealand, Japan are very excited to be helped through that process, and we are very much looking forward to returning to Zimbabwe. The triennials, 2026 in Ireland. If you want to have a good time and look at some really good agriculture, that'll be a good place to be. Back here in 29, and we're hoping a collaboration in Europe in 2032. This is really more for the 2024 scholars, this slide, but it's really, you can read that, but it's really to serve as a launch pad for your scholarship. and we want to provide a formal introduction to Nuffield International and Nuffield itself for you guys. We really want to make sure that you get to blend with your scholars from all around the world and explore the agriculture and the culture, discuss and engage with leaders and yourselves, but also develop the skills and tools so that you'll get the most and best out of your scholarship. The current international board makeup, Chris Graff-Grote is the chair from the UK. It's a bit of a mix. So we have some of the country chairs, and then depending on how often they rotate, we've also got a couple of representatives from some other countries as well. And then there's two externals, Martin Davies, who's the head of Nuveen Capital, and myself. So we've got the corporate go-getter, the farmer from the Liverpool Plains, sort of mixes together. I do lease a property off them, I guess it makes it work something there. But it's really to add corporate memory and to make sure that Nuffield doesn't lose its way. We meet via Zoom, but we do actually meet at the CSC and try and get all the business done for the next year. This year, Nuffield International, as you can see there, selected 9 scholars from the USA, and mainly from the USA, Japan, Chile, Germany and Poland. And we're very pleased to see the program going again in Zimbabwe. Probably the point, though, is that starting a new Nuffield country is hard. Like it wasn't easy in Australia, especially when the money stopped coming from the UK. But you need good local people who are absolute, and they're sort of critical to the program to work. And that's a real particular focus of the executive and also from the Nuffield International Board. I'll just add that I've only been on this board since March this year, so and as Nuffield International, I don't think we've got some clear goals, good strategic plan, but I think there is still some room to change and be shaped. It relies heavily on the volunteers of efforts of many different people, and there has been significant financial challenges. Thanks to the work of Andrew Fowler and the absolutely fantastic donation from Chris Reinstein, that has really made Nuffield International put it in really good stead. But that doesn't really mean that we can just rest on our laurels. So Martin, in conjunction with Chris and myself, and because Chris has taken over from Andrew Fowler, we've put together a plan to actually try and get Nuffield International the funding it actually requires to survive and thrive. The pathways we seek is to look for investors, hopefully from the philanthropic world, that they want to invest to make a difference to global food production and food security around the world. It's ambitious, but without this funding, it'll be difficult to continue this program in its current format. Our target's $1.5 million US over the next 3 years. So my question to you is, if you have any contacts, relationships, anyone who is a wealthy benefactor, you haven't got to do the work, you just got to give us the invitation, the contact, we'll do the work. If it's successful, happy days. If it's not, all we can do is ask the question. But that's something that we really have to do to make Nuffield International a successful organisation. We're preparing a video to tell the Nuffield story. From there, we'll assemble a team of people to go and meet with these people and to try and have the face-to-face meetings to come up with some funding. But I'll leave you with this thought, and you can read that as quickly as I can probably talk about it. There's about 1,700 alive scholars in the world today that have all benefited from this program. If we got 1,000 and put $1,000 in each, there's $1 million to kick off, just as an example. And that, if you put that back into your farming business, it's $333 each for a year, over 3 years, which is less than 1 tonne of urea. And that's not suggesting that that will be the way we go, but it just shows you the power of once you get a network that's big and strong and global. I think I'll finish with that, but I'd like to really look forward to welcoming the 2024 scholars. Congratulations on being presented last night, and we look forward to seeing you in Brazil in March 24. There's always a couple of thank yous as well. I've got to recognise a couple of people. I don't know if Brendan Smart's still in the room. Brendan's been involved with Nuffield. I think John Woods mentioned 40 last night. Well, Brendan was 40 when he got his scholarship. I think he's probably been involved for 40 years. That makes him 80. It's pretty close. But he's certainly contributed a great amount all the way through building Nuffield in Australia to what it is to helping out Nuffield internationally, and he finished up in March this year. So thank you very much, Brendan. I don't know if you're here, but well done. And the other guy, he continually gets thanked. He's a bit of an overperformer. He comes from that dodgy place called Esperance, which apparently has got more money than Bob Nixon. But Andrew Fowler, who's also done an absolutely magnificent job and really righted the ship with Nuffield International, did a whole bunch with Nuffield Australia too, but the last 3 years he's really done a fantastic job. So also thank you to Andrew and thanks for your service.